What's going on, everybody? I'm your host, Ben Bally, and back with another episode of the Sports Pod. And not only is today parts 37 and 38 of the 82-part series where I am recapping all the Knicks games from this season, but Harrison Bader's a Met, Pete Alonso got a contract, and I'm giving my NFL Super Wild Card Weekend predictions. And one last thing, Nick Saban's out at Alabama. I'll get into all of that on the other side of the intro.
For three. Bang! Iguodala to Curry. Back to Iguodala. Up for the layup. Oh, blocked by James. LeBron James with the rejection. That ball is out of here. Out of here.
Jumping right into the episode. I'm going to start with the Knicks, then get my picks, then talk about the Mets. We made a couple moves, and then recap Nick Saban. And I guess Pete Carroll and Bill Belichick's. They're all gone. So I'll get into all of that at the very end of the episode. But starting it off with my New York Knicks. We were 5-0 in the OG Anunoby era. Now we're 5-1. But the way we got to 5-0, a 112-84 win over the Portland Trail Blazers. An amazing game for Knicks country. An amazing game for Knicks Nation. A 23-point performance from OG Anunoby. It was a really good game, and I mean, everybody contributed. Anunoby 4 for 6 from deep in the first quarter, and that's what RJ didn't do. RJ would be bricking maybe 5 of the shots that Anunoby made. Anunoby finished 4 for 6 from 3-point range, 9 for 12 from the field in total. And another huge game at plus 26 over his first 5 games with the team. He was plus 111, the most in NBA history over that span. Randall plus 31, Hartenstein plus 31, Brunson plus 29, and another really good win for the Knicks. And coming off of this one, I didn't know the next time we were gonna lose. Luka did not play last night. For the Mavericks. We just let Tim Hardaway and Kyrie Irving cook us. Last night, we lose the game 128-124. We were down 24 points. And so that we even made it, the fact that we made it a 4-point game down the stretch is pretty impressive. And it shows, even in a loss, that if this team gets down, they have fight. And they can get back into any game. And I'm not blaming this game entirely on the officials, but there was a ton of inconsistent officiating. And I've noticed a trend that the Knicks have had this ref before, Danielle Scott. I believe she reffed the game last year at Madison Square Garden, where Jeremy Grant had 44 points on like 20 free throws or something ridiculous like that. That was one of the first episodes of the Sports Pod, actually, maybe the 8th or 9th, I want to say. That was all the way back in November of 2022. But yeah, I was at the Garden for that one. Dame didn't play, and that was another game where the team doesn't have their star player, just like this one. Well, the Mavs are a little bit different, but Dame was out. He's their star player. And the Blazers leaned on Anthony Simons and Jeremy Grant, just like the Mavs leaned on Kyrie Irving and Tim Hardaway Jr., who combined for 76 points in this one. 76. Tim Hardaway Jr., 10 for 20 from the field, 6 for 13 from deep. And to start and I believe the first half, he was 9 for 12. And he was not missing in the first quarter, including a deep 3 at the horn of the first quarter and an and 1 3 from some Steph Curry range. It had to have been at least 25 feet out. Josh Hart in his face, and it was an impressive shot. I'll give it to him. But then it wasn't only the tough shots that Hardaway was hitting. He was getting wide open spot up looks that the Knicks allowed. And I expect them to bounce back from this because that is not the Knicks game. That is not the new look Knicks, the OG Anunoby look Knicks game. This is a team that is supposed to be excelling on the defensive end and getting a ton of stops and making everything tough. Not just giving away possessions, not just giving away shots like they were in the first quarter of this game and even into the second quarter. It was sleepwalking the entire way through that first half. Then halftime comes around, and the Knicks change the tide completely. They cut this lead to 1 point at one point with 46 seconds to go. Now you think the Mavs bring up the ball, and they get 4 offensive rebounds. 4. And they were easy should have been easy rebounds for the Knicks to have. I'll put the clip in right here. But 4 offensive rebounds is insane on an incredibly clutch possession where you need a rebound more than anything. And finally, on the 4th opportunity, Josh Green gets the ball and cans an open 3, a dagger 3, to end the Knicks' hopes. We had a shot at winning this game all the way down the stretch. I was watching in the first half when we were down 14 points or something. And I'm like, and I was thinking, we're still in this game. There is a big possibility that we can come back and win this game. It did not feel like we were that far away from winning. And it might have been because I was thinking without Luka, this is going to be an easy win. And it partly was that. Even though Luka does not play great defense, the Knicks, they had to be better. It was a terrible performance in the first half. And then even I mean, it was tough. First loss of the OG Anunoby era, first loss of 2024. It was coming at some point. I knew they were gonna slip up. And it's tough. I don't know if I'm okay with the I don't know if I'm okay with like that loss. I don't think I am. Because the East is so tight right now that with that loss we went from the 4th seed back to the 6th seed. And we're a half a game behind the 4th seed again. And a game and a half behind the 3rd seed in the Philadelphia 76ers, who are big on the Kings right now, I think. They're up 19 points, 96-77 on the Sacramento Kings. And looking over at the other side of the association, the West, the Kings holding on to their number 5 spot at 23-14. The NBA has so much talent this year, and the playoffs are going to be incredibly fun to watch. And the thing with the Knicks and the thing for any other team, just don't be in the play-in. You can't be in the play-in. And with the Pacers down the stretch, I'm worried that their offense is not going to help them. Is not going to play well enough to cancel out the lack of defense on that team. Tyrese Halliburton went down with an injury. He's still out, I think, and he's gonna be out. He's gonna be out for at least 2 weeks. He'll be reevaluated. He had a hamstring strain, and that's a big loss for the Pacers. He's their top gun. He's their guy. He's a dude also. You talk about the dudes. You talk about Jalen Brunson. You talk about Donovan Mitchell. You talk about Steph Curry. You talk about Giannis, LeBron, Jokic. Those are dudes who can go win you a basketball game at any time. Kawhi, Donovan Mitchell. And that's the one guy that the Knicks need And it is not DeJounte Murray. DeJounte is not going to fit well on this team. He's another ball-dominant guard, and he's going to mess up this flow on offense that we have right now. This OG Anunoby Knicks team has looked good. They've moved the ball very well. Jalen Brunson's assists have skyrocketed since this trade. So why are we going to bring another ball-dominant guard that doesn't play as good defense as Dante does? Why are we going to bring him here and not somebody who I think off the bench, a Jordan Clarkson or a Malcolm Brogdon, a bench depth to fill the void that Quickly's left, and give us more scoring and a veteran presence off the bench. Clarkson played with Kobe. I think he was teammates with Randall on that 2018 team, I want to say. I think they were teammates at one point. Let's see. In 2018, the Lakers, Josh Hart was there. 2018 Kobe retired in 2016. What am I talking about? Let's see. 2015, 16. This Kobe, Jordan Clarkson was there. This might have been two. Oh no, Julius Randle was there also. With D'Lo and Lou Will. Yeah, so Clarkson and Randall have played together before. So they know how to play off each other, I guess. Neither of them would have as big of roles that they would on the Knicks. But they have chemistry, I guess. I don't know if it means much, but they have played with each other. But the Knicks get one win and one loss. A big win over the Blazers, 121-84. And then a tough loss, 128-124, against the Dallas Mavericks without Luka Doncic. But getting to my NFL Super Wild Card Weekend predictions. This is one of the best weekends in sports. You got NBA on, you got NFL. I'm not an NHL guy, but if you got, I could get into that if you guys want to hear about it on the podcast. That's on. You got. I don't know. That's really it. But starting off my picks, Saturday at 4:30, you got the Cleveland Browns going down to Houston to take on the Houston Texans, the AFC South champions. Now the Texans in this one, a great year for their first year under DeMeco Ryans, a rookie quarterback in CJ Stroud. But I just don't think that they can pull it off. The Browns have a ton of veterans on their team. Whether you look at Joe Flacco, Myles Garrett, Nick Chubb isn't back, but I'm sure he's still in that locker room talking to his guys. I don't know what Deshaun Watson's doing, honestly. We've seen him in the boxes, not helping the team at all. Whereas Joe Burrow, on the other hand, can't wait to get back on the field, and he's helping his team wherever he can. But Deshaun Watson going back to Houston, I think for the first time since his suspension and his trade to the Browns. But yeah, I got the Browns in this one. I can't see them lose. I don't see them losing. All right, and now another storyline game. You got the Miami Dolphins with Tyreek Hill going to Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City, Missouri to take on the Kansas City Chiefs. Tyreek Hill's former team was the Kansas City Chiefs. And earlier this season, the Chiefs beat the Dolphins in Germany. And I expect a similar result as that game. Patrick Mahomes always turns it up for the playoffs. And I don't think they have a good enough wide receiver core to go all the way this year. But I definitely think that they're good enough to win this first round. So in the early game, or the Saturday games, I got the Browns in the early one, and then the Chiefs in the late one. And with the Chiefs, it's just they impress you every year. I have to take them until I can't trust them anymore. And then I'll start taking other teams. All right, Sunday at 1:00. This is probably an easier game for me to predict. These next two are you got the Pittsburgh Steelers going up to Buffalo, New York to take on the Buffalo Bills. Now today I was hearing, and the Buffalo I think it was the Buffalo mayor, but somebody in New York politics told the Pittsburgh Steelers fans, just stay home, it's gonna be cold, it's gonna be snowing, and the game's not gonna go well for you anyway. Now this has the feeling of a Burrowhead kind of intent, I guess, because last year when the Cincinnati mayor called Arrowhead Burrowhead, and then the Chiefs won, and Travis Kelce was saying all the you gotta fight for your right stuff, and that was a fun game to watch. Did that one go into overtime? I think it did. At least it was close down the stretch. The Bengals were a shell of themselves this year. But Pittsburgh and Buffalo, I don't know how Pittsburgh's here again. It doesn't make sense how they get here every year. But I'm taking the Bills. They've been playing playoff football since early December, and they've had to win the AFC East and to get into a wild card situation. All right, next game, going down south into a dome where it'll be nice and warm. You got the Green Bay Packers taking on the Dallas Cowboys. Now, Jordan Love, he's impressed me. I like his game. I think he's a good quarterback, and I think he'll be their franchise quarterback for years to come. But in this situation, they're too young of a team. I think this is the youngest team in playoff history. And that means a lot. They have no experience. Their wide receiving core is subpar. And when you don't have a guy like Patrick Mahomes, and when you don't have a connection like Patrick Mahomes does with Travis Kelce, it's going to be hard to win with a subpar receiving core. But who knows? Dallas always struggles in the playoffs. Shout out Keith. Keith's a big Cowboys fan. So it'll be interesting to watch. I think Dallas wins this week and then loses to who they'll play. I think the Niners next week. Whoever it is, I think they'll lose next week. All right, the final Sunday night game. You got the Los Angeles Rams taking on the Detroit Lions. Another storyline game. And I'll save this for after I make my prediction. So Matthew Stafford going back to Detroit for the first time since he was traded for Jared Goff and a bunch of draft picks. Now this trade for the Rams ended up with them winning a Super Bowl 2 years ago. And right now, I think they're going to knock the Lions. I don't think that the Lions playoff drought of never winning a wild card game will continue. I think the Rams are dangerous. I think they're going to the NFC Championship. You heard me. The NFC Championship game. And that they've been so hot in the month of December and even into the month of January. I don't see anybody messing with them until they play the Niners. The Niners or the Eagles, who I think are going to right the ship in the playoffs. Which leads me into the next game. The Eagles taking on the Bucks. Now the Bucks somehow made it back in a terrible NFC South this year. They went 9-8 and they won their division. I mean, they don't have Tom Brady. They have Baker Mayfield. Mike Evans has had an incredible year. He's played really well and carried that team on the receiving front. But I think this is Baker Mayfield. This isn't Baker Mayfield's first playoff game, and it's not his first home playoff game. He led the Browns to their first home playoff win a couple years back. So we'll see if he can do it again. This wouldn't be the first playoff win by any means for the Bucks. They just won the Super Bowl 3 or 4 years back. But I can't see him winning again. I have the Eagles in this one. They went 1-5 to end the season. But I think they're gonna right the ship, even though Jalen Hurts has a broken right finger. And AJ Brown deleted everything football and Eagles related off of his Instagram account. So who knows? After this season, he could be leaving Philadelphia. And he was huge on that Super Bowl run. Well, not Super Bowl run, but NFC Championship run, Super Bowl runner-up run last year. All right, those are my picks. I got the Browns, the Chiefs, the Bills, the Cowboys, the Rams, and the Eagles. We'll see it play out over the next 3 days, and then I have 2 more things I want to talk about. Contract is worth 1 year, $20.5 million. They still need to sign him to a long-term extension after this season, and Uncle Steve better get his money together because we cannot let Pete Alonso walk in free agency. And then for Harrison Bader, another 1-year contract. But the Mets haven't done enough. They still need a real DH. And it's got to be Jorge Soler to me. He'll hit for power, and he'll do whatever we need and fill that void in the DH that we've had ever since the MLB introduced the universal DH. We've never had a real DH. When you look at Daniel Vogelback, JD Martinez. No, that was JD Davis. Darren Ruff. Dom Smith. Just a bunch of guys that aren't real DHs in the MLB. Marte might play a little DH this year. Alonso might play a little DH this year. But we need an everyday designated hitter. So Bader's going to play good defense. He might not be the best hitter. But Alonso, you know what he's going to do. He's going to hit for power. He'll get on base a little bit. Won't steal any bases. But that's something Harrison Bader will do. And will do often. So Mets signed Bader and Alonso. We're going to have to sign Alonso next year. But the Bader contract is more of a prove-it year. But that's all from the Mets. And then the last thing I want to talk about. 3 legendary coaches parting ways with their teams this offseason. First, it was Pete Carroll getting fired by the Seahawks. Second, it was Nick Saban retiring from Alabama. And yesterday, it was Bill Belichick parting ways with the New England Patriots. And it's really the end of an era. These guys have coached pretty much since I've been alive. So it's going to be weird. Seeing somebody else manning those sidelines next season, but everything comes to an end. So that's I don't know. I don't know who the Patriots coach is. Jared Mayo. I've never heard of him. And then Washington's head coach is going to coach Alabama, which I kind of like. He was good with Michael Penix Jr. But still, Jalen Milroe doesn't really pose a threat to throw the ball very much. And Seattle hasn't announced their new coach yet. All right, that's going to do it for this episode. I'm your host, Ben Valley, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.